Hey everyone, Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest right at the buzzer. Lana Quest joins me.
Yes.
What is up?
Score.
Score. I sat
beat
there
it.
and hit the thing. I was like, all right, I guess Lana's going to be a few minutes
Yep,
behind.
nope.
And as soon as the countdown ends, boom.
I know. It's like for some reason my laptop is draining. It just keeps, and it's like the Mac it's a good Mac, but then when I think about it, I'm like, I think it's like 7 years old or 6 years old. It just seems like it's draining faster than normal. Like if I just leave it out, every time I come to plug it in, I'm like, fuck, this is nothing. I have to wait for it to get a little bit of charge. So
I'm kind of the same way. I was doing my show on Thursday night, which I know you did your show on Thursday night too. And I'm in the middle of it and it says battery low. I was not able to plug it in on time and shut right off right in the middle of the show.
yeah, I
Damn
don't
it.
know what's happening with
Pissed
it.
me
I
off.
feel like I looked brown too. I mean, I am brown, but it's weird. It's like, how are you doing? How was
I'm
your
doing
weekend?
good. I'm always trying to figure out lighting because my face always looks so pale. But I don't know.
And you're in Florida, so that's
I
how are
know.
you pale and in Florida? How does that work?
I think I am now more in the mindset of maybe trying to stay out of the sun because, as we get older, it's,
Right.
a little bit more dangerous to do that.
True. It's
Um, so that's, I think, why I do that.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to
Yeah.
look like Trump in your older age.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not painting myself orange, but we definitely obviously have a lot to get to. We'll get to some things, but there was some news today that maybe we should go over real quick, and then we will start the show. Lana, did you hear that Jack Smith is making some moves?
Yeah. Love to hear
Yeah.
it. Whenever that breaking news comes and you hear Jack Smith's name, you're like,
Yeah, there were some times we were hearing his name and we were like, oh, I mean, come on, man,
yeah,
what are you
yeah,
doing? Let's
yeah,
go. But
yeah.
today, special counsel Jack Smith filed a superseding indictment on Tuesday against former President Trump in his federal January 6th case. The slimmed down indictment comes after the conservative majority Supreme Court largely sided with Trump when it ruled in July that presidents have immunity for official acts. It reflects the government's efforts to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings and remand instructions per the special counsel's office. The new indictment was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in the case. So, basically, he is reshaping this case so that way, based on what the Supreme Court had said, he's going to say, all right, let's take out anything that can be misconstrued by what the Supreme Court said and let's retry this case. So, and you'll never believe who ran to Truth Social and started whining and crying about it.
Oh, cool. I have no idea. Who did that?
Just like he whines and cries about everything. I was asking somebody, I mean, seriously, do you teach your children that this is like somebody that you want to look up to? Because the president of the United States, whether you like him or not, there's a lot of people that look up, children look up to the president. That's how it's always kind of historically been. There's been something about the president of the United States as you look at somebody that's a little bit more special, not that they are, but you know what I mean in that respect. And they are supposed to be the example of the entire country, whether you agree with their politics or not.
Correct.
And, now you have just this whiny, bitchy little baby who just absolutely cannot help himself from bitching, whining, crying. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so confusing how I mean, I get MAGA, they have like another reasoning why they love him. But then on the flip side, aren't they just like, despite his racism and despite the bigotry, doesn't like that shit get on your nerves? Like, if he doesn't win, then everyone cheated against him. Like, if he commits a crime and he's held accountable, oh my God, he's the victim. Like, why is it all? everyone's picking on Trump. Wah, wah. Like, what is that? And they're okay with that. Like you said, it's like, oh, Kamala's afraid to debate me. It's like, excuse you, me? Like, what are you talking
Lana,
about?
it's completely insane. He is the one saying that the election was stolen. It went through fucking court case after court case after court case. I'd have to do that 60 to plus times
Right.
in order to say, all the court cases it went through. Every one of them were not even just thrown out of them. Some of them were laughed out of court.
Correct.
You literally had people in court like Rudy Giuliani sitting in court saying, I don't have anything here.
Right.
We're just, I just hope that you rule in our favor.
I have a sinking suspicion.
Right. I have a suspicion. So I hope that you're able to rule on my suspicion. Meanwhile, there is literal audio of this guy calling the Georgia representative saying, find me 11,000 votes. That's all I need. You'll be a hero, basically telling him. But you know what? No, we're the crazy ones. They're the ones who were cheated, and we're the ones who are acting nuts.
It's like he's covering so many bases right now. It's like he's covering the base to say they had the upper hand doing the debate because it was on ABC. Then he's like covering, about if he loses the election, he's got that base covered too, because now it's the 8 million illegals or whatever coming in because Biden's just landing them all in because they're all going to vote. Because, the elections aren't close, right? Like they're never close because all of the illegals. Okay. Like it's like he's covering every base so that if something goes wrong or not in his favor, he always has an excuse. And like you said, what do you call people who always have excuses? They're fucking punk bitches. Like go sit down. Like you can't even own up to anything. It's always an excuse. It's like, I don't know.
If you worked with this guy, he'd be the person that, like, if you all went out after work, you'd say, make sure that he does not come. Make sure, little philosophy. I will get to your comments here in just a minute. But he's that guy where you're just like, hey, don't invite him because he's just so annoying. He's just a baby. He's a whiner. And, after a while, and quite frankly, here is the deal. In the MAGA world, it still works for them. Yeah. But you can tell this country overall is tired of it. They are over it. They're done with it. And forget about, Republican, because they're not even Republicans. They're just so far away from being Republicans. Right. But they are just done with it. And they're just like, you know what? I don't even give a fuck. We just got to get rid of this guy. There are some like true Republicans who are saying, hey, I hope he gets blown out so that way we can finally get rid of this fucking moron.
I mean, how are you a former president? You don't have the support of your vice president. You don't have support of anyone from your administration. You're running as a Republican. Not one former Republican president has come to say, I'm voting for he's my guy, to endorse you. Dead silence, radio silence. Like that right there tells it all. He can't even rehire anyone from his administration because
his own administration is endorsing Harris. They're not even saying we're not endorsing him. They're literally saying we're endorsing Kamala Harris because they know personally what a danger he is to this country. And, I've said this before, actually. Donald Trump's not really a danger himself. Donald Trump's the danger because he could be elected and be used as the useful idiot that he is.
Right. That's it.
That's the dangerous part.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So before we move on to the next subject, Lana, the comment section in the YouTube channel is a lot of fun. And if you have not swam in that river at all, at least on our channel, I would wear a very protective suit in there because it does get toxic. And I don't know, I really don't know. It feels like way more people on the MAGA side see our videos than people that would agree with us. Yeah. And that's okay. It's fine. But you get a lot of interesting comments. But Lil Philosophy is somebody that has got into our comment section, and he wants to come on the show and debate me. I'm not even really sure about what, and I certainly am. I don't have any issue with it, but let's go to his comments here real quick. Put me on the show, I will present why J6 has complete precedent. Okay, that's interesting. I truly believe we were cheated by the social media. Has been covering for this administration. So he certainly has some interesting philosophy, as it says in his name. I go ahead, Lana.
No, I have a question that I continue to ask MAGA who are not Republicans, because this guy's not a Republican. Just like you said, most of them are not conservatives. It's Trumpism.
Right,
they support Trump. They don't give a fuck about America. They give a fuck about Trump.
Right.
But if it was stolen, once again, you have a ballot, and the ballot has your guy at the top of the ticket, and then there's down ballot. So if that ballot is not valid and you're saying Democrats cheated, they did something with the ballot, how do you explain the majority of Republicans in the House? Like, how do you explain that? They just didn't want to vote for Trump, and they voted down ballot for friggin' the rest of the
Ron, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even really sure he's talking about the election being stolen. He's just talking about that they were cheated by social media, and that he is somehow, it looks like, defending January 6th. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But
that's a complete precedent. So it's good to overthrow the Capitol. Like, it's just,
yeah, and I'm not opposed to.
That's what it's.
He says correct. I'm not opposed to.
It's okay to shit in the Capitol. Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear anybody who has any defense of January 6th. Tommy K, how are you, buddy? I appreciate you coming in. Hope you're doing well, my friend. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Lil Philosophy, I'll get back with you, and feel free to comment throughout the show. I'd love for you to stick around, and Tom, of you as well, and anybody else that wants to comment. But before we move on with a few other things, Lana, we are about a little over a week now away from last week's the Democratic National Convention. Feels like everybody was coming off a very high. What are your feelings a week later, and what are your feelings? What were your feelings as you were watching it?
They are inclusive. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's the Big Tent, and it's, again, like, I just feel like if the other side, because they've made this a side thing, right? Like, we talked about this before. Republicans weren't like this. Like, this is not a Republican thing. This is not conservatism. It's Trumpism, because no one ever had this kind of issue with the Bushes or we didn't deal. It wasn't like this. You were able to talk to one another, but now we're like, it's your side. We can't negotiate with anyone. Like, it's just so fucking childish and stupid. But it just showed you how inclusive and diverse it is. It's like, you see people, and then they bought back, like, hey, you know what? Democrats are patriots too. We can have flags too. And you don't
chant USA.
Right. And you don't get to dictate, like, just because you're a racist bigot, you think that America belongs to you, when it doesn't. You don't get to decide that. And especially Trump doesn't get to decide that. The guy who disrespects the US military and America at large.
Yeah. Well, this is the new Democratic Party, and I love it, because for too long, they allowed them to steal this narrative as they were the flag-waving patriots that loved our military. I'm not really sure how much they love this country. It seems to me Donald Trump is always up there talking about how terrible this country is.
And himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I and not to mention, listen, sometimes when you hear circumstantial evidence, you got to put, logic on top of what decision you make as to whether it's true or it's not true. When I hear General John Kelly, come out and say that Donald Trump called uh, um, military people suckers and losers, and then you add that on top of what he said last week about the Congressional Medal of Honor, when you add that on top of what he said about John McCain, when you add that on top of he didn't go to the military gravesite in France because it was raining out and he didn't want to mess up his hair, when you add up all these things, who am I believing? A guy who's a lifelong grifter who has lied his entire life about everything. Or John Kelly, who was working for him in his administration.
Right. We've heard him though. We heard him disrespect the Khan family, the Gold Star family.
Like why are they not putting that together? What is it? Because I know they just say that you want to hate Trump, so you're going to believe everything about it. But I mean, is there a point where we all have to sit down? Let's all say we're sitting in the same room and we're on a jury in this thing, and we have to come up with a verdict. And we have all the circumstantial evidence in this particular case. It seems pretty damning to me. How are you on the other side convincing me that this is not true?
Right. Because that's what they want to believe. But Trump said it. And again, what did Trump say? Trump said, I love the undereducated. That came out of his mouth. Like, we can't even make that up. He said that. Why did he say that? And it's like, everyone is like, but who do y'all think he's talking about? He's saying he loves the easily manipulated people.
That's what he's saying.
That's who he loves. So he knows that y'all, Kamala Harris had put out an ad today. What was that ad about? Helping first-time home buyers get a home.
Yep.
Donald Trump put out his ad for trading cards.
Oh, we're getting to that because that is probably we are literally in the most embarrassing time.
It is embarrassing.
I mean, at least in modern day politics, this has gone beyond embarrassing that you have a guy who is selling gold sneakers. He's selling Bibles. He's selling trading cards to his duped ass fan base. That is so, I mean, and we're right. You're right to laugh. And I don't want to be in a world where we're laughing at our fellow Americans. I really don't. I swear to you, I don't. But this is the soup that they swim in, and this is where they want to be. And it is now to a point where they don't look at us, and they can make the case that we don't look at them the same way, but they don't look at us as not just non-Americans. They're looking at Democrats as enemies. They're literally wearing T-shirts saying, I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat. I mean, they vilify.
Like, what is wrong with you? Like, seriously, because I would never do that. Like, in 1,000 years, I would just never do that, right? Nope. Like, I am going to talk about Trump's policies, whatever they are, because he's an idiot. I'm going to talk about him being a racist because, as you said, we can go down the list of things to prove that he's a racist. Like, the things come out of his mouth, right? That's what we're talking about. But I would never be like, I'd rather be in Russia than America, or I'd rather like root for Putin than Trump. Like, what the frick is wrong with y'all? Yeah, like, but Trump is right. He's right about one thing: the undereducated and the easily manipulated. Like, that is exactly what he says it, and then they do his bidding. Like, he's a master at that shit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. And I promise everybody I'm going to get to the comments here, but we were talking about the Democratic National Convention last week.
One thing.
Yeah.
I knew that he was going to sell something because I'm like, when they started talking about Kamala setting that fundraising record, $500 million in a month, you knew right away Trump was going to sell something. I was like, wait for it. Something, he's going to do something because, oh boy, you can't outdo me. So here comes the trading cards.
Yeah, and by the way, Lana, if you were in the comment section in the YouTube channel, you would think that Kamala Harris is way behind and that Donald Trump's blowing him out. I'm not really sure what polls they're looking at. And again, I don't put, you and I, we've talked about this before, we don't put all of our weight in these polls, but the trend in the polls are very, very interesting. But last week was the Democratic National Convention, and there was two contrasts, Lana, that I saw. They put together a couple of clips of the contrast between the DNC and the RNC. First contrast was their roll call that they had. And I said this on the show that I did last week. So I'm watching the DNC. I don't even really recall the roll call of the RNC because I did go back and watch it because I did have a lot of people saying you didn't even watch it. You didn't even, and I don't know, sometimes I'll be honest, that will get to me. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're right. I'll go back and I'll watch it because if I'm going to comment on it, maybe I've seen enough clips that I feel like I can comment on it, but you know what? Fuck it. Let's go back and watch the whole thing. But, the roll call started for the DNC, and of course, something we've never really seen before. I see this cat named DJ Cassidy, who I've never heard of. And I said on the show last week, I was like, you ever watch something like America's Got Talent? And you see the person come out on the stage and they talk about what they're going to do, and you see the judges going, oh no, this is going to be awful. That's how I was. I was like, oh, what are we doing? Lana, 2 states in, I was like, this is fucking awesome. I loved it. I couldn't wait to hear what song they were going to play for each state. I was trying to guess what they were going to play or what artist they'd play for that particular state. And then Little John came out. I was like, come on now. This is, I wish I was pissed I wasn't there.
Right.
Let's look at the contrast of the roll calls between the RNC and the DNC.
Delegates are alternates and guests that maintaining order during the roll call is extremely important.
Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president.
Under Rule 16 of the Rules of the Republican Party, state law, or state party rules.
Turn out for what? Turn out for what?
Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump.
Hey, turn out for what? Yeah! Turn out for...
Thank you, delegates.
Everyone's so confused now.
VP Harris!
We want to remind all
Listen,
alternates.
I mean, Lana, is that really? It's almost the same feeling as when you watch a Harris Walls, like you see their
oh my god,
yeah, when you see their rallies versus a Trump rally now. The Trump rallies, they're all just kind of there, like, okay, we're just saying that we're here. You know, we did. You know, we're gonna say that we made it to a Trump rally, so it's cool. But nobody's really into it. They just aren't. And prove me wrong, but you could go back and watch a million clips of these rallies and people are just like, are we really fucking doing the windmill and shark thing again? And Hannibal Lecter?
Nodding in the back.
Like, people were looking at their phones.
Just give us our check. We did that ad on.
Right.
Just give us the check. It's like we're out of here.
And of course, the Harris rallies, they're like concerts. And yeah, I know people are like, well, they only have celebrities there. That's why they do it. And if that's what you want to believe, that's okay, because that helps you settle, you know, what's really happening. And it
Not
really,
Hulk Hogan. What the hell?
That is true. They had the Hulkster and they had Kid Rock. Kid Rock brought down the house. You saw when they showed Melania Trump when she was like, what the fuck am I sitting in? He's paying me an extra 50 grand for this one. But beyond the contrast of just the roll call, Lana, we had the contrast between the two nominees and their acceptance speeches between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Let's take a look at the differences between the two.
I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations.
We are indeed a nation in decline.
You can always trust me.
I keep forgetting they wore those fucking like tampons and shit on their ears during that thing.
To put country above party and self.
We become a dumping ground for the rest of the world.
It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith to fight for this country we love.
Has anyone seen Silence of the Lambs?
Oh boy.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd love to have you for dinner.
We want to remind all our delegates, our alternates, and guests that maintaining order during the roll call is extremely important.
Is this? Oh, sorry. Okay. I mean, I don't know. The differences seem clear to me. I'm not on the other side, so I'm sure the differences seem clear to them. That his speech was way, way better than Kamala Harris's. Lana?
I mean, what it did show was that Trump is unfit. Like, it just showed that. He's unfit. He couldn't even stay on topic. We watched it. He was all Hannibal Lecter. Like, he rambled on for over 90 minutes with people trying to get out of there. Like, that is wild. While she was to the point, just concise, and hit on everything. Hit on foreign policy, hit on the economy, hit on the border, just all the things like, nah, you're not going to get us on the border because, dude, there's a bipartisan border bill sitting there that I'm going to sign as is because I've already seen it. You didn't see it, but you wanted to block it so you can run around and talk about illegals. Like, yep. Oh my. And then didn't even talk about that shit. Talked about Hannibal Lecter. Like, it's just wild.
It's just insane. First of all, a couple things I want to address. Number one, I've said this before. Don't try to gaslight me into thinking that the border is a top 10 issue. It's not. I'm done talking about the fucking border, to be honest with you. Do you know, Lana, I mean, if you really did the research, that first of all, we are not even at the peak amount of people that have come through the border. That was back in 2007 under George W. Bush. So, you know, yes, there are more people that have come through now, but it's really not that much off from the average that we see every single year. Donald Trump did lower the border crossings, maybe about 800,000. It's not like he was this guy who put an iron wall up like he promised he was going to.
It was up under.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Because I did go back and look.
I thought it was lower under Obama. And then it went up under Trump.
I think the lowest peak, I think he had it down to the lowest peak because I think Obama had it like at 11 million and Trump did bring it down to like 10.2.
Was that during the pandemic?
I'll have to go back and look, but you know what? Like I said, either way, let's just roll with the fact that Donald Trump did lower it. But it's not like he did this unbelievable job where, you know, now there was no more border crossings. What he did, though, is he was extremely cruel in the way he handled it. He separated families. And I guess these fucking babies and shit don't matter when it's not the nice little Christian kid that is being separated from his family.
No, stop. He doesn't care about Christian kids either.
Well, that's true too.
He doesn't care about white babies.
Hey, Lana, when I'm saying it though, I'm talking about the whole like the JD Vances of the world and the other people who are actually Donald Trump cares about nothing other than himself.
But none of them care about them, Brian, because
that's true.
Kids are getting shot in mass shootings. Sandy Hook, they didn't give a fuck about those kids. They don't care about these kids at the what is that school that was in Tennessee? Those are little white kids in the Christian school.
Well, hey, Lana, yes, you're absolutely right. But so let me rephrase. pretending like they care about those kids more than the other ones, because they do a great job of making you think they give a shit about these kids, but they don't. You were absolutely right. The second thing that we can address and clear up right now, since there are some MAGA people in here who love to say this, that Kamala Harris got no votes. She didn't get any votes. So how do you feel about that? First of all, they went through the process. It was an open election, where people could have stepped in and put their name in the hat. They all decided not to. But here's the thing. You guys are the only ones complaining about it. We're all excited about her. And you know how we're excited about her? Record-breaking donations from small donors, not from individual small donors. These rallies are selling out. Her poll numbers have shifted this entire race in her favor. So what's the problem?
She raised a $500 million in a month.
It's insane.
That's not. You just don't do that.
And I want to make it clear: these are not by billionaires.
Two-thirds are low, right?
Correct. They were from
first-time donors too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So before we move on to the next one, let's catch up on some of the comments, because I said that we would do that. Let's go back to. Tommy K said that when he's talking about the social media suppression, he said that he's talking about Hunter Biden's laptop suppression. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll read the comments to see if he had commented on that and the Mark Zuckerberg thing. First of all, oh boy, are they rolling with this Mark Zuckerberg thing like it's actual news? Trust me, it's not. What they did was they called him and said, hey, do us a favor. Can we suppress some of the misinformation about COVID because we have people dying in record numbers? So if you don't mind, it would be a great help.
Correct.
So, I mean, they're acting like they had this social media czar that came in and put his iron fist down and said, you are not allowed to say this or you're going to be under arrest. That never happened. And by the way, let's go back to the Hunter Biden laptop. During the Hunter Biden laptop, guess what? Trump was in office. That was his administration. And second of all, it was suppressed on Twitter for 1 day because they couldn't corroborate the sources. So they were like, okay, so for 1 day we held that up. That's it. That's all.
What are they even talking about that? Like, how about you talk about the friggin' Trump suppressing the story about him sleeping with a porn star?
Right.
Like, that was some suppression before a campaign. That was like campaign interference and all, and writing checks from campaign donate. Like,
Lana, you're right. You're okay. Let's all be mad about Mark Zuckerberg and Twitter. Okay. If you're going to be mad about that, why are you not bringing up Donald Trump suppressing the story about him sleeping with Stormy Daniels? You know how they get out of this, Lana? They say he never did it. Just signed over a check to her for $130,000 for no reason whatsoever. This is all garbage. That's why I can't fucking stand doing this shit, because it's all fucking
it's not even worth talking to them, because it's just like they get information from where? Like the deep recesses of like conspiracy.com or some shit. Like
it's 4chan, 8chan, dumb shit like this. They listen to these podcasters. Joe Rogan is the king of conspiracy theories. And for some reason, people believe that Joe Rogan's a brilliant genius when it comes to this thing, and that he knows more about COVID than Dr. fucking Fauci.
Yeah.
Little Philosophy said, I believe January 6th has complete precedent due to hold on, let me put on my glasses. God damn it. The performance of the administration. We were fearful of the by then Biden. We knew this would happen with him stepping down, and we feared the VP taking place. What is he talking about? I don't get it.
I don't know.
Okay, Little Philosophy, if you can rephrase what you're trying to say, because I'm not really sure what you're saying. It's very cultish yet. So my boy, old man C's in the house. He's another one. Actually, I know him personally. We went to school together. TDS. Oh, another one of my favorite things that are Trump derangements. Lana, they have a whole vocabulary that I'm familiar with it now because I just hear it. Cope seems to be a big one in their world. Beta is a big one. Cuck is huge in the MAGA sphere. Trump derangement syndrome
And
is
what does
huge.
that even mean if you talk about his nonsense? It's like y'all won't do it. Y'all act like y'all don't see him slurring on that stage.
And that makes, I think, the TDS twins, that's you and I, Lana. We're the TDS twins. And we're yapping at each other. That's, I am happy to be yapping with my TDS twin friend, Lana. I have seen a shirt. This is, I think, when we were talking about the Democrat, I'd rather be a Russian than a Democrat. I seen a shirt that says, when I die, don't let me vote Democrat. So at least he is admitting that there is some nonsense going on there. She's not wrong, though. I'm not sure what he was talking about. Tommy K says, I've never been called to give feedback in a poll. Who participates in these polls? That's a good question. I have not either. And I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if it's one of those things. I know it used to be people with just landlines.
Correct.
And I don't know of anybody that has landlines anymore. Not to mention, a lot of people don't answer their phones, especially in a political season when they see a number that pops up, because all you're doing is getting bombed with donation calls.
Right.
Bombed. And it's kind of like, I'm not answering this phone. So you are right there. QDub34, hey buddy, what's going on? Thank you for joining. LOL, this is embarrassing. I'm sure that's when we were talking earlier about I don't know, we were talking about something embarrassing. A few more comments here. RNC was full of hall monitors. That is correct. I'd say the right is backing Trump because they believe he's the common sense option, especially religious people. If Donald Trump is the common sense guy, then this country's fucked. We are
seriously.
fucked. If he is the common
religious people,
the Hannibal Lecter shark electric boat windmill guy is the common sense guy, then again, we're fucked. Queued Up 34 said that was the most entertaining convention. Lana, real quick, back to the convention. They ran, it absolutely was. Every night was really, really good. It was very
not just music, right? It was like
yes,
speeches, the messages of, again, friggin' unity. It's like you had Republicans walking around the DNC and they were welcome there because no one said you don't have to be a Republican. No, we welcome Republicans. You don't need to turn into a Democrat. You just vote for what makes sense.
Right.
Common sense. The one who's not going to put America in jeopardy and sell, as AOC said, this country for $1 and have top secret shit in the toilet. Like, what are we talking about right now?
I mean, that is a good question. Honestly, guys, if you are that deep in the MAGA sphere or you're that you're that enamored by Donald Trump that he is the answer for this country, which I am got a spoiler alert. He absolutely is not. He's not even the answer for his own company. He was a failure at his own company. And you want him, after he failed this country in 2020, you want him back in charge again? I mean, literally, what is the... I don't know, Alana, I can't figure it out. I want to ask, what is it? What is the common sense about Donald Trump that you, and when you listen to the Hannibal Lecter stuff and everything, how does that resonate? What is it that you hear?
And then he's talking about his hair, and Democrats want to take your water, but he likes to use a lot of water because he likes to lather his hair and make it luxurious. Like, this is what he's talking about, and everyone is like, yeah, he's our guy.
And he's having a beauty contest against Kamala Harris. I mean, come on, man. First of all, that's absolutely insane to even compare. Yeah.
Bigger than Martin Luther King Jr.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yep. I believe the DNC was orchestrated when Biden messed up, and then they started cheering. It was weird. Still don't know what you're talking about. And I apologize. I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm really not. I literally just don't know what you're trying to say. Baby Juggernaut, look who's in the house. Baby Juggernaut, thank you for joining. Yes, DNC was great. Couple more comments. You have to throw out the pandemic stats. I agree. I mean, first of all, I have said on numerous occasions, I don't blame Donald Trump for the pandemic stats. I've said that a million times because anybody with logic and anybody who studies this thing would tell you that the economic statistics would have happened under any president. Now, we could judge Donald Trump on how he handled the pandemic itself, which was absolute garbage. But as far as the economic numbers are concerned, I agree with you. So if we're doing it for Donald Trump, then you have to do the same for Joe Biden, because if you are trying to tell me that the pandemic ended as soon as Joe Biden took office, then we're not being sincere. Okay, so all right, I'll get back to some of the comments because they are starting to rack up here, but we want to get on with the show. So Lana, there has been a lot of talk as to whether or not there's going to be a debate. And, Donald Trump did his Donald Trump thing where he made up that there was a debate on Fox News, and he thought he was going to control the situation. The master of negotiations said that there was going to be 3 debates. One's going to be on Fox, one's going to be on ABC, and then the last one was going to be on NBC, I believe it was. And he thought he was running the show. Guess what happened, Lana? There's one fucking debate. Just the way Kamala Harris wants it. So the king negotiator is definitely not getting his way once again.
Right. And we already knew he can't negotiate. I mean, he can't negotiate with Putin. He can't negotiate with Kamala. Like, he's not a negotiator. Like you said, he's a failed businessman. Who is he negotiating? And people know how to manipulate him so well.
My favorite thing to ask MAGA people is to say he's the great negotiator, the great businessman. He wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. And he followed up that book. Now, The Art of the Deal, by the way, was to let everybody know about his business acumen and how to negotiate and how to be a great negotiator. Well, he followed up that book with a book called The Art of the Comeback. Now, let me ask you a question. If you're so incredibly good at negotiating deals, why would you need to write a book about coming back? Because The Art of the Comeback was more about, because he lost almost everything and he had to rebuild his so-called empire. And that's what the premise of Art of the Comeback was. So if he's such a great negotiator, what do you need to come back for?
Didn't he file bankruptcy like 7 times?
6.
6 times.
And 3 of them were casinos, which is impossible. Right. And we could get into that story about how he bankrupted casinos, because I've read all about it. If you really care about Donald Trump, the businessman, numerous documentaries, numerous books, numerous articles that you can read about him as a true businessman. Little Philosophy, Old Man C, all you guys, do me a favor, if anything. You know what, Little Philosophy, I'll have you on the show if you promise me you go and you read and you watch documentaries about this guy as a businessman, and then tell me why you want him as your fucking president. It's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, Lana, this was Trump again trying to no, this is him trying to control the situation. He put out this tweet the other day to give everybody the idea that he may not be participating in the debate. He said this, as a matter of fact. I watched ABC fake news this morning. Both lightweight reporter Jonathan Karl, K ? Ridiculous and biased interview of Tom Cotton, who was fantastic, and their so-called panel of Trump haters. And I ask, why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network? Will panelist Donna Brazile give the questions to the Marxist candidate like she did for crooked Hillary Clinton? Will Kamala's best friend, who heads up ABC, do likewise? Where is little George Stephanopoulos? By the way, this is Slopanopoulos. This is a guy you want to be the leader of the free world.
Who the fuck does this? Like, kids don't even do this. Like, this is just so, but this is how he thinks about his followers, right? Like, it's him, but this is like, I'm just gonna my followers like it when I talk like this, so I'm gonna talk stupid because that's how they relate. Like,
well, Lana, this is what his followers think about him. That's why he does it.
It's maddening. Like, I would, if Kamala spoke to us like that, I'd fucking be pissed off. Like, who the fuck you think you are, bitch? Like, that's wild. Like, he can just he calls y'all basement dwellers. Like, that's
Right.
enough.
And that came from somebody that worked for Donald Trump. But just to end this, we will he be involved? They got a lot of questions to answer. Why did Harris turn down Fox, NBC, CBS, and even CNN? Stay tuned. She didn't. There was nothing in place for any of those. So I don't know. You know, you could continue to make that up all you want to. But I will tell you, Lana, the Harris administration is doing their, what do you want to call it? The clapback game is on fucking point. This is how they responded. And I said, this is probably one of the best responses I've ever seen, you know, to a clown who thinks he's going to shape this whole narrative. But let's see if this pops up. Damn it. Yes. So this is what they said. We have told ABC and other networks seeking to host a possible October debate that we believe both candidates' mics should be live throughout the full broadcast. By the way, before I get onto this, this was the debate, whether or not they should have open mics or closed mics. And the Harris camp obviously wants open mics because they know he's an unhinged idiot who can't control himself, and that will play in their favor. Our understanding is that Trump handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own. We suspect Trump's team has not even told their boss about this dispute because it would be too embarrassing to admit, and they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. Now, that was a great response because you're basically putting in Donald Trump's head that they're not even telling the boss because they don't, you know, they want to control him, and it's trying to make him nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. And what does he do? Fall for it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. I don't mind. Yeah. That would be better.
Well, Lana, a reporter did ask him about the open mics, and this was his response. And again, he can't control himself. His team's probably just saying, look, just tell him that we're sticking with the original plan, and that's what we're doing. You know, why would they want to change the original plan? But he can't fucking help himself. He just can't because he's a toddler.
Would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but
okay, then he should just say, let's have him on.
the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. I mean, ask Biden how it worked out. It was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
Look at their faces. Their faces tell it all. Just like,
yeah,
dude, we don't even like you, but we're just here because we signed on. Like everyone that supports him thinks he's an idiot. Like every time she's running from a debate when she's literally telling you, come here. She literally said a couple of weeks ago, I'll be there, whether he's there or not.
That is correct. Yep. Yep. But he says 9 different things in 1 minute.
Probably, maybe not.
Yeah, the truth is she doesn't want to debate. The truth is that we want the open. He's so all over the place. And you're right. Look at literally every time he talks with people standing behind him. And by the way, I've about had it with these fucking police officers standing behind him on, some of these things. That's getting on my fucking nerves. But just look at their faces and look at their reactions of every time he opens his mouth. It is like, it's painful for them. It's painful for everybody in the room. They know they have to bow down and they know they have to make him look special.
Yeah.
And, they get home later and say, hey, was he a little off? Was there something wrong with him? Because I don't know. Anyway. So we have the debate set. From what I read, that Donald Trump did go on his little Truth Social site, or he went on one of the sites, and he did say that he did agree to the debate.
To do it.
I still don't know if they agreed to. And you knew he was going to. He wasn't going to pull out because A, he needs the attention.
Exactly.
That's number one. B, I don't know. Does he need this debate? Because so what he was doing is he was pulling out all these debates in the primaries because he was so far ahead. And quite frankly, if you're asking me from a strategic standpoint, he made the right move. There was no reason for him to be in those debates. He was so far ahead that why even waste your time?
Talking about primaries.
Right. The primaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Joe.
No, I was just making sure everyone knew you were talking about
primaries. Yeah, the primaries.
Yeah.
And with Joe Biden, I think he felt like he had an advantage. And clearly during that debate, I want to make clear he had an advantage in the respect that he was able to put all his words together at all times, but they were all lies and they were all unhinged. So against somebody normal, like what we're going to see in September, the story would have been about Donald Trump the entire time, about how awful he was and how terrible and how he lied. Joe Biden, unfortunately, wasn't able to get on his feet. He wasn't able to combat all the lies and go through all the things. But something tells me a professional prosecutor is going to be able to handle that a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So we'll see him in September. Oh, by the way, Lana. So last week, RFK Jr. endorsed Donald Trump, and my initial reaction was, I don't care. I spent about 90 seconds on it. His approval rating was, or not approval rating, but he was polling at less than 5%. All 5% of RFK Jr. voters are not going to vote for Donald Trump. And I don't think he moves the needle. But today, there was a needle mover, Lana. And I don't know how Kamala Harris might want to drop out of the race because Tulsi Gabbard threw her name in and said that she is now. You could combine Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr.'s voters, and it might even go backwards. It might go the opposite way. Tulsi Gabbard.
Seriously, it's just like we're on a transition team. Like, that's just so gross. Like, we have RFK Jr., who said, like, when he was accused of sexually assaulting his employee, said that, well, I'm not a church boy. And then you got Donald Trump out here.
He was a babysitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you got Donald Trump saying E. Jean Carroll thought rape was sexy. And then you got friggin' Vance talking about women should be in abusive relationships. Like, fucking these three guys, this is what we want in America? Like, those guys?
Well, now that you brought up JD Vance, and I see a lot of people talk, he's just so fucking weird and boring. It's almost like I don't even feel like covering him because he's just so, off.
Awkward. It's something very awkward about him. It's not true and not authentic.
Yeah, but he was just caught on mic recently and have this clip. He can't get over this thing of people who don't have kids. He is obsessed with people who don't have kids. Here's another one where he was just caught today. That
our conservative idea is that parents and families should determine what children learn, what values they are brought up with. So many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know this obsession with, people who don't have biological children. This is also coming from the party who aren't they the kings and queens of adopting children? No. Have that baby, have that rape baby. If people want it, put it up for adoption.
But what kills me is that they put it into a right and left thing. So these Trumpists and MAGAs can just eat that dumbness up because it's like, it's not right and left, like all Republican women don't have children. Like all Republican women don't have children. Like that is just, it's mind-boggling. All Democratic women aren't choosing not to have children. Like what the fuck are y'all talking about out here in these streets? It don't make sense. It's like Republican women need abortions too, or abortion care too. They use IVF too. Like they get raped too. Like what's wrong with y'all? It's not left and right. Like philosophy person talking about RFK Jr. when he was accused of sexual assault. Wasn't he on the left? Who the fuck cares? Sexual assault is wrong, whether he was a Democrat at the time or a Republican at the time. Like, what are we talking about? It's bad.
Well, these are coming from all these phony evangelical men, and these phony evangelical men, they have one thought in mind. That thought is, I have a woman now as my possession. She will do as I tell her to do. And if she doesn't, then there's problems. But the independent women they scare guys like JD Vance, and they don't like the fact that they are independent. They don't like that they have their own thoughts because they cannot be controlled. So this is their way of kind of putting them down by saying, you don't have children, there's something weird and something wrong with you. These people are so fucking bizarre, and it is just so annoying.
Lindsey Graham doesn't have children.
Neither does Tim Scott.
Tim Scott doesn't have children.
Right.
And probably a whole slew of other people in Congress that don't have children.
Yeah, I don't know if they think about what they say, but, clearly they don't. It really doesn't matter. But I'll get to some more comments here in a minute. I see the I'm an infidel is on fire over here, and he's laughing at Americans. Which is fine. This country, we can laugh at everybody. In fact, you just saw Lana and I laugh our asses off at an ex-president throughout this entire show because he deserves to be laughed at. But Lana, we're in a world of politics now that has become professional wrestling, and it's gotten so over the top and so disgusting. Did you hear this fucking asshole Jesse Waters the other day? Let's play this clip. And I know he's always thinking he thinks he's going to be funny. He thinks he's the funny guy on the show, but let's play the clip and we'll talk about it.
The president has his most impact. You have a lot of room to maneuver there as commander in chief. We don't know who she is. We don't know what she believes. She's going to get paralyzed in the Situation Room while the generals have their way with her. Right now,
Jesse Waters. Jesse, I don't like that.
Figuratively,
Take
again,
it back.
have their way with her, control her, not in a sexual way.
Yeah, first of all, you hear the little snickering and laughing, and then instantly the women on the panel there said, whoa, that's too far. They knew exactly what the fuck he was talking about. He knew exactly what the fuck he was talking about. So was that snickering little bitch who was doing that too. They knew exactly what he was saying and what he was talking about. But this is where we're at, Lana. That's a news channel, by the way. That's a national news channel.
Right. And it's crazy because how the women knew that he went too far, but they'll keep going with him, right? Like they knew, like immediately it was like, oh shit, like it didn't, because they're women. So immediately it didn't feel good, but then they got to go back to, well, what side are we on, right? Like, well, we're against Kamala bad, so we got to keep going with this. Like, it's just kind of, it's pathetic. It's like, why is that funny? Like, why even to suggest that? There's so much going wrong with that. It's like, there's misogyny. Now you're sexualizing her. Like, it's just really gross and disgusting, and how anyone thinks that shit is funny. But then again, you know what? They think it's funny when friggin' Paul Pelosi got hit on the head with a hammer. That shit was laughable to them. So I get it.
Lana, in fairness, you're a woman. You don't get it. This is locker room talk. This is the kind of shit that we talk about in the locker rooms because we're dudes and we make sexual assault jokes
Yeah, those are
all the time.
Incels are doing that, and they ain't in nobody's locker room because they're not good at sports.
Yeah,
it's just somewhere.
This is the problem now. The problem is because this is a national news channel. So growing up, you would never see anything like this. This is ridiculous garbage. But now we are inviting uneducated idiots into the news cycles, and they're watching this. And now they come to our channel, and they go to other channels, and they think that their part of the conversation is not intellectual. It's more about trolling. And I can see I'm an Infidel is on fire with his trolling. And he is probably, this is a highlight of his day, trolling a small YouTube show. And again, I welcome all the comments. And I'd like to read your comments, but do me a favor, just put a 1 and a 2. I'll read 2 of your comments. You've got about 200 of them, but pick 2 of your favorite. Pick 2 of the ones that you want addressed, and I'm happy to do that. But Jesse Waters did a half-assed apology, and right off the bat, you could see this Greg Gutfeld douchebag making,
To me. Well, on that
hilarious.
Note, listen to this. There's been some attention to comments I made on the show yesterday about VP Harris. People are misconstruing my comments to mean something inappropriate. I wasn't suggesting anything of a sexual nature. I was expressing my opinion that Vice President Harris's current leadership style could be an issue if elected.
And that punk is married. Like, fucking, who the fuck is your wife? Like, ew. Like,
there's a story about him, like, in order to get her attention, or in order to, he popped her tires. It was something weird, something about her tires. But again, this is where we're at, and
popping nothing else. Oh, sorry, that's not sexual.
Just crazy. It is just crazy. But finally, Lana, you alluded to this earlier. Donald Trump is grifting his base again. This guy desperately needs money. He hates the fact that he's being not just outraised by Kamala Harris, not just outraised by a woman, not just outraised by a woman of color, but he's being outraised significantly.
Yeah.
And the excitement is on Kamala Harris's side. It is not as much on the Trump side, unless, again, you're in the MAGA sphere. But we talk about embarrassing, Lana. This, there's so many clips. And I wonder if we can rate the top 100 most embarrassing Donald Trump clips. But this one has a potential of being at least in the top 10. Let's just roll it.
President Donald J. Trump with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins. Here's the best part. I'm doing great things for my Trump digital card collectors. First, there's the real physical Trump cards. Purchase 15 or more of my Trump digital trading cards.
I'm kind of on the fence if I should let the entire thing play through, or did we have enough?
I don't even know.
Right, let's play
how much longer is it? A few minutes?
Probably about a minute and a half.
No,
let's go 30 more seconds, and then we'll make a decision.
Yeah.
And we'll mail you a beautiful physical trading card. It's really, I think, quite something. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate. And people are calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. So we'll cut up the knockout suit, and you're going to get a piece of it.
All right, that's the knockout suit.
Randomly
You can get a piece of it if you want to.
Stunning digital trading cards. It's
okay,
really...
shut up, you. So yeah, you could get a piece of the knockout suit. And I do believe too that he said you could pay in Bitcoin and he alluded to, said, apparently I'm the Bitcoin king. Again, he said, I don't know about that. I like when he kind of just, he does his own,
Right.
off the
They
script.
said, but I don't know about all that. But they said it. Who's
Yeah.
they? Like by popular demand, because his cards are back. Like, excuse you?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I would say I try every once in a while. I try to think to myself, let me see if I can get in the brain of a Trump supporter and see maybe what I'm missing. Let me just see if I can conjure up and figure out what exactly it is that he's doing,
Right.
and what is it that I'm missing, and why am I off for looking
Right.
at somebody like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden and saying, and I have yet to figure it out, and I have had yet to anybody to point out for me in a logistic or an educated way that I am wrong.
I don't understand. My stomach hurts now after watching that. But it's just really disgusting, man. It's like on one hand, we laugh, and then on the other hand, it's just like I kind of feel sorry for some of these people. Not all of them, but like some are just like caught up in this nonsense and just believe it. Just like
They don't know any better.
just the victim, like the victims of Trump University, right?
Right.
Giving them all of their money. And it's like you never even talk. You're supposed to get lessons on real estate or whatever, and never even talk to real estate people. Then they try to sell packages. It's like, here's the platinum plan. This is $10,000. Here's the, the bronze plan. You get that for $4,000. And then told the people to open up lines of credit just to buy these packages in Trump University. Like he built seniors, single moms, like all of these people into buying this stuff. And everyone acts like this stuff didn't happen. And it's like you're taking a man who literally cheated Americans on purpose, and you're saying that's my guy, because you can't say it didn't happen, because it happened and he settled. So you can't say that didn't happen. So you're taking a man who cheated Americans and you're saying, that's my guy.
And
I don't understand
first of all,
that.
Another defunct business that was sued and lost and had to pay out millions of dollars. If you go back, there's documentaries too about Trump University, and you could see people who worked for Trump University. These are people who actually were trained to work there. They were trained to get people to open up credit cards.
Yes.
So they would put thousands of dollars on these high interest credit cards, which, by the way, was something that Donald Trump was famous for. That's why he absolutely destroyed any hope of the Taj Mahal making it. This just drives me so insane. This guy was in the middle. The Taj Mahal was being built and he purchased it. Well, he tried to get banks to fund it, and the banks were already over Donald Trump, and they're like, no more loans for you, pal. He was so intent on getting this thing done that he took out these junk bonds at high interest rates. And some guy wrote an article and said, well, this isn't going to sustain. I mean, the first 6 months, it'll be great because everybody's like, oh my God, it's Donald Trump's Taj Mahal and people are going to be flooding in. But casinos too are seasonal. Once you start getting around November, December, it's holiday time. People aren't spending their money in casinos.
Right.
And the guy said they're not going to be able to sustain this. He sued the guy. No, he called the guy's work, the article, who wrote the article, called him and had him fired. So the guy, everything that he said came out to be true. The guy wound up suing Donald Trump and won quite a bit of money. I don't know if it ever came out how much he won, but this is who Donald Trump is as a businessman. He was not smart. He was not good. His only good business move is watching his dad die. That was it, because his dad gave him $400+ million after he died, and that was it. Really, that's it. That's it. He lucked into a couple of other things, but overall, terrible. And he was terrible for this country, and he'll be terrible again for this country. Period. End of story. One last thing. I guess Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have decided to do their first interview with CNN on Thursday night at 9:00 with Dana Bash. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, it's good. She was going to do one anyway. I mean, I don't understand why people act like she was running from an interview. She couldn't do an interview before she rolled out her policy like that. We keep forgetting, like, it's only been a month, right? So we expect all of this stuff in 1 month. Like, how could she give an interview before the DNC and before her policy? Like, that was never going to happen. She had to get the nomination formally before she did an interview. And then she had to put out a policy because they're going to ask her about policy during the interview. You can't talk about that prior to you doing your campaign spiel and your policy. Like, and here she is right on cue. Interview right set up. Like, I don't
Well, I mean, it's clear why, because what they need to do is they need to find a way to attack her. So
Right.
now she's going to do the interview, and after the interview, they're going to find a new way to attack
Oh
her.
no,
and
I
then they're
already
gonna
know
find a
what they're
new
gonna
way.
say. She needed walls there to protect her. How come she didn't do it by herself? It's like there's gonna be something stupid like that.
If
Like,
I'm not mistaken, did I not see Trump and JD Vance do an
Yeah.
interview together not that long ago? And the other idea, first of all, they're going to give this idea that it's on CNN. I want to dispel this myth, and a lot of people aren't going to believe it anyway. CNN is not a far left-wing network. They just
Not at
are
all.
not. They are they're not a propaganda network like Fox News is for the right. They are a network that just wants a lot of money. And they will sensationalize the news, and they will be over opinionated, but they are not a arm for the Democratic Party. That's just so
Not at all.
stupid. But let's just say it is. Let's just roll with it and go with whatever it is that you want to say. Let's just say it's a far left network, CNN. That's what they're going to say, is that, oh, she ran to CNN. I have yet to see Donald Trump do a sit-down interview with anybody that's not Fox News or Newsmax or
Rachel Maddow, never.
right.
He
right.
won't go
When's
on
he
on a real right. He won't go on a real news outlet. Like it's not even going on outlet. Fox is not news. Hannity said that it's not news. He said it's opinion news or whatever he called it. He said
he's not a real journalist.
Yeah, he said that. But they keep calling it news when the people on there are saying we are not journalists. We're not. This is not news. It's not news. They're telling you it's not news. So stop acting like Trump is on a real news. Oh, Kamala won't debate on Fox News. Fox is not news. They're not journalists. Why would she do that?
Lana, first of all, the balls on anybody to say that they wouldn't do a debate on Fox News. Fox News was sued for $787 million fucking dollars because they literally lied about the election. Why would any politician go on a network that lied about an election? And you know what? There's $787 million worth of proof that they lied about the election. In fact, they didn't lose that amount. They settled for that amount. They said, you know what? Let's just get the fuck out of this and give them the money because we could probably lose a lot more, because I think they were suing for like $1.5 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. And we saw the emails.
Yeah.
We saw the testimony.
Yep.
They lied and they knew they lied. It was in the emails. All of your Fox newscasters.
Brett Baer, Tucker
yeah,
Carlson was on there. He was on there talking about how much he hated Donald Trump.
Exactly.
And then, of course, he's doing the same thing that all MAGA men do. They get down on their knees and unzip his zipper and do whatever it is they need to do for Donald Trump. They all do this. And it is so pathetic. And for these dudes to call themselves men is just... I don't get it. I ain't bowing down for no guy. I'll appreciate somebody and I'll defend and I'll do all that stuff. But man, I mean, for me to say I really can't stand somebody and then to turn around and do a complete 180, for some sort of whatever power it is they think they're getting, it's just weird, man. It's just weird.
Trump doesn't sensationalize. Trump lies. There's a difference between sensationalizing and just being a liar. It's like you got to look it up. The meanings are two different things. A lie is a lie. That's not sensationalized.
Yeah.
You can sensationalize the truth. Like
Yeah.
you could just make it bigger than what it is. Trump just fucking lies. Like he just tells lies.
Yep. And he's done that his entire life. His
lies.
entire life. He was taught early on just to run people over and just to say whatever it is that you want, and you're going to win.
anything.
And you know, it's worked for him. It's worked for him for a very, very long time. But there's just all signs at this point indicate that this may be running out in November. But, you know, obviously nothing is, nothing's a done deal. But, you know, the more I read about this and the more I look at it, the more I feel better, Lana, because what's happening is that we're seeing the polls trend all towards Kamala Harris, right? And the reason why that's important to note is because these are all people who are now either changed their answer. Well, they definitely changed their answer from, I doubt a lot of them changed it from Trump to Harris, but you might have a very small few. Maybe some of the Republicans at the DNC were influential. Then you had the independents who are now saying Harris, and you had a lot of the people who said, I can't vote for Biden because it's just too embarrassing, you know, and now you've got these people coming in.
Re-energized, right? You have people who are re-energized. And the bad news for Trump, and hopefully the good news for Kamala, is that these polls and what's trending doesn't even account for the millions of new voters that they've gotten registered. Those aren't in here yet. They're not in the polls.
And Lana, too, at this point, we all know who Donald Trump is. So Kamala's new. So that's why you see a change in the polls. Donald Trump's old. Everybody knows who he is. It's not like somebody who's sitting around and going, you know what, let me kind of finally take a look at this Donald Trump character and let me see if it's somebody I want to vote for. We already know who he is. He's not adding any voters.
And he doesn't want to, because now the plan that we know is to suppress all the other people's votes. So he's not trying to get Black votes, Native votes, Asian votes. He's keeping his base, and what they're going to do is go into every state that's tight, Georgia, North Carolina, and try to mess with fucking electors and everything else like he did in 2020, and then try to project and say it's the Democrats that cheated when it's literally him. Like, how can you say Democrats cheated when he's on the phone asking for votes? Like, that's wild to me, but he's doing it again.
At the time, he was the most powerful person in the world, and he couldn't pull it off. So, you know, who knows this time? And again, you know, there are some people in certain places where it may be a little different this time, but just everything I saw and read, I'm not sure it's really something to be worried about. And at the end of the day, what needs to just happen is Kamala just needs to blow this cat out, and let's just, you know, let's end this thing so there are no questions. And just go from there. So, all right, we're going to wrap up the show, but I will go over comments. Lana, you're welcome to stick around if you'd like, but if you want to go through the comments with me, I don't know if you've been reading any of these while we were talking. I'm just going to go back a little bit.
They got rid of the Capital Bank person. They were just posting my bank is Bank of America like 1,000 times. So it looked like spam or a bot.
Okay.
They just kept saying Bank of America, Bank of America, Bank of America.
I'm just going to go real quick and say Lil Philosophy says Rogan hates Trump. That is absolutely not true. You're not convincing me that he hates Trump. He's one of these guys, because I get this too. I get this a lot in the comment section where they're like, either A, I used to be a Democrat, you know, get the fuck out of here. No, you weren't a Democrat. I also saw somebody, I think it was Tommy K, who put on there that, or somebody did, that RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard were lefties. No, they were never really lefties. They were Bernie people. That's who they were. They weren't Democrats. They were always like Bernie fringe sort of people. And Tulsi Gabbard was never a Democrat. Get the fuck out of here. Let me see. Little Philosophy says these polls just send me texts. I've never seen a text poll except for like a donation one. You know, you'd see the one that's a donation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those I'm pretty sure don't count. Why do y'all just say you don't know? I thought you said earlier you watched the DNC. Can we at least have some transparency? I don't know what that means. Mr. Capital One was banned and their comments were removed. Did you do that?
Yeah, he kept
Okay.
saying, they kept saying Bank of America. Like it was just Bank of America. It was just
Okay.
it was weird.
Loves the poorly educated. Baby Juggernaut says, okay, I'm an infidel. America is so lame in 2024. The two parties are hilarious. The sheeple love it. 20 years in Iraq. Oh, okay. So you're watching us from Iraq? Is that what you're telling us? Everything about Americans is fake. They just want pleasure. Listen, if you want to rag on sort of the American way, in some respects, I'm with you. I mean, I think sometimes maybe we do put too much into the nicer things and money and fame and all that stuff. So, I mean, if that's what you're getting at, I don't completely disagree with you, Lana.
I love America.
I love America too. I mean, we have our faults. There's absolutely no question about it.
Everyone does. I don't think there's a country here that could be like, I have the best country. Like,
no,
we got some issues everywhere.
Let's see. He's an atheist, so am I. Back at you. That's a little philosophy. So we do have something in common there. Ha ha ha. You think you're important?
Oh, he reported the scam account. Good job, philosophy. No, it was a scam.
Oh, was it him?
No, it was he reported it as well. It told you it was like some type of scam thing about
I gotcha. Thank you, Little Philosophy. We appreciate that. Lana, listen, they point you overlooked is why they aren't on the left anymore.
They're not on the left. They never were.
Who's he talking about?
RFK Jr. and Tulsi.
Okay.
Whatever the fucking name.
He gets his politics from Comedy Central. I kind of do too. Kamala wasn't a great option in the first place. Should have been Hillary. I disagree. I think Kamala would do a fantastic job. I think Hillary was probably the best candidate that we have ever seen. But I think, unfortunately, there is just too much on her name that is unfortunate. That is not true. That would have made it probably more difficult for her to get elected. But I think this time around, she would have had a better chance. Lana, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Read this one. How long can you borrow money to pay your bills? I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about me, you, or Little Philosophy, or he's talking about somebody in the comments.
Maybe it was the bank account. That was the bank. It was like, Capital
maybe.
One. Capital One Bank was like commenting.
Little Philosophy says, my father left to go inside after 5 minutes hearing y'all. He's a Mexican immigrant as well. I'm a registered tribal member. The minority, as you call them, will wake up. Well, I'm sorry your father did not enjoy the show. Tell him I personally apologize to him for ruining his night. Well, maybe I didn't ruin his night, but Toronto businessman, they're admitting it. You literally said CNN sensationalizes. Isn't that what Trump does? I think Trump lies is what he does. CNN sensationalizes. There's a big difference. I mean, you could take a story that's true and you could blow it up to maybe that's something a little bit bigger. What Trump does is he flat lies.
Exactly. You could put anything. You could put adjectives in a story and make it seem larger than life, but Trump lies about the whole story.
Correct. Yeah. So he does a little bit of both. I mean, he definitely sensationalizes. He says he's a great businessman. He's a businessman, but he puts a great in there, and now he has sensationalized it, and he lied. So kind of sometimes you can do both. But worried about NC faked electors. There's absolutely I mean, North Carolina is another one that could be an issue, but I don't know. I think people are gonna, there's enough guardrails to where we should be fine. I reported the scam account, Low Philosophy. Okay, say Trump gave Bears ears to Cracked. It was protected land. And frat, he said, or she said. And then we can't sue CNN for lying, unfortunately. Well, I mean, you can. There's actually one gentleman who did sue CNN, and he won a case. So you absolutely can sue somebody when you have an actual case. I mean, if you are suggesting that CNN lied about the election, because the opposite of lying about the election being stolen is saying that the election wasn't stolen. So, I mean, what's the grounds pursuing?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know. That was fun. We got a lot of questions tonight.
Yeah,
Lana.
you did.
A lot
Yeah,
of
big
comments.
chat. This is nice.
I wish we could keep up with them even more, but it'd be easier to do that. But we got to do segments, and I don't know. We don't have to do anything. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, you do everything. I'm just here. I just show up.
So am I. So am I. But all right, so let's wrap it up, Lana. By the way, everybody that's listening, Lana has her own show. It's called The Quest Show, and she does her show live at 8:00 on Thursday nights. She did her show last week. You could always go to her channel and you could check out all the clips. You could check out all her live shows that she did in the past. Great content on there. And Lana, we doing the show Thursday night? I always like to ask her.
I know. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm doing every other. I think I did Friday. I don't know what I did last Friday. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you did one of the nights. I saw it. And then of course we got the Harris and Walls interview Thursday night as well.
We're going into the long weekend. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Long weekend, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good long weekend, everyone in chat.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to thank Lil Philosophy for coming in. This is great, to be honest. We need to unite the left and the right. I mean, I have no problem. In fact, I think, and again, I'm not trying to be an asshole here, Lil Philosophy, but it looks like the left has united with the right in some respects, because they have taken the people who are part of the real Republican Party and the real conservatives, which Lana and I both agree that we definitely need in this country, that we are not opposed to right side politics when they're acting right. But when you're looking up to a clownish fool who is talking about Hannibal Lecter and sharks and boats and electricity, and he's smart because his uncle went to MIT. This is not what we're uniting with. This is ridiculousness. And I promise you, they want nothing with uniting with us. Now, Lil Philosophy, you seem like you're not a complete MAGA head. So yes, it is nice to have conversations like that. Baby Juggernaut, thank you for coming in.
Hi,
Old Man C, thank you for coming in. Tommy K coming in. Fuck, even the Capital One guy. Thank you for coming in.
It's like, what was that? That's so weird.
I don't know.
I was like, does Brian see this person?
I saw the Capital One going like nuts. And the infidel guy, thank you, the guy from Iraq, he came in. I'm an infidel. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate your comments as well. Great to have debate and some sort of talk. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you, Lil Philosophy, you as well. Baby Juggernaut, I appreciate you both. Great talk.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you guys.
On Friday. I think I was on Friday. She popped over, so that was nice.
Yes, she did. I did see that. I saw that. Actually, it was Thursday night because I did my show and then I went to your show and I saw that she was on there. So
I did Thursday.
Or no, maybe it was Friday.
No, it was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday. It was Friday.
Convention ended Thursday. Yeah.
By the way, before we wrap up, everybody, if you're still on here, please like the show and then subscribe as well, please. If you could do that, we're close to 500. I know to a lot of people they might laugh at that, but I will tell you, it's not easy. If you watch everything on YouTube, they will tell you it takes 12 to 18 months to get to 500 or to 1,000.
Or longer. I just got that, and I was doing it for 2 years. But then again, I don't post enough videos.
Thank you, Lil Philosophy. Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. Maybe we need to post a little bit more, and that's why I'm trying to do more content.
You do more. I can't do the extra. It's just so hard.
But gosh, man, I'll tell you, and I don't know. Like I said, the algorithm seems to all go to people who hate us. So I don't, it's weird. I don't know why it goes there, but I'm telling you, I put one clip on the other day and it's got almost 1,000 comments. And every time I go back and check, there are just more and more comments on this one clip.
Do you put like in your hashtag like MAGA or something? No.
Well, sometimes I do.
Maybe they're telling all their MAGA friends like watch these idiots. And like,
I mean, but I think it does. Maybe that it goes in their feeds, and maybe because I have so many clips now that go to MAGA side that it's just all feeding now into that side is probably what's happening.
Right.
But that's okay. Like I said, anytime, anywhere we could get views, but the problem is they're definitely not subscribing. But we do have people like Will Philosophy who's who will say, I don't mind listening to another side, and it's healthy discussion, and we appreciate your subscription. Of course, Baby Juggernaut, we appreciate yours as well. And we will see you guys back here live Tuesday night with Lana and myself. I will probably be back on live on Thursday night, maybe for a little bit. So I will hit the, what do you call that little thing?
The bell? Hit that bell?
Yeah, hit that bell. Yeah, the notification bell, so you can tell when I might sneak back on here. And I'm not, again, Little Philosophy is thrown out there about having guests on. I don't mind having people that are in the chat. You want to come on and discuss a few things, I don't mind on a certain debate topic. I'm open to that as well. So anyway, thank you guys, everybody, for joining, and we will see everybody next time. Good night, Lana.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you again. Bye.